This episode of One Piece has a combination of the over-the-top comedy, which One Piece usually shines, and the the build-up to a future episodes. And what I mean by build-up is because at the start of the episode we see the Jolly Roger belonging to Kaido. We see Jack and a fleet of ships. Looks like they're on the way to Zou. Where else would they go? Um, they were reading the paper about being apparently Jack being dying, and so Doflamingo, because we know Jack attempted to get back Doflamingo from Fujitora, Sengoku, and Tsururu, but instead he got his ass whooped. And we knew this because Wano mentioned it to Luffy a couple episodes ago. Um, so Jack gets super pissed. He's probably heading his way back to Zou. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. So that's kind of build up right there. Now, this episode focuses a lot on the relationship between the Minks, well, at least in this case, Neko Omoshi and Inuyarashi. And my question to this is, how deep does the connection go? Because for the samurai, they were holding a lot of secrets. The Minks, they were doing it for the right reasons, but I guess you can say the samurai were doing it for the right reasons. However, come to find out that Momonosuke is not the son of Kinemon, and Kinemon's not the father. We come to find out that named Lord Odin. Apparently, the Shogun. That's the way it works out. The Shogun in Wano, and Momonosuke is the son, which means he's the heir. That's why he's kind of a big shot. But Luffy, being Luffy, he doesn't give a shit about that. But Momonosuke, and I like how Brook is the one, even though he's a heir to the throne of the Wano Kuni, he's still a little pervert, and he is. And speaking of which, the first thing he does when Luffy starts getting on his case because he thinks it's a big shot now, says, Luffy, bow down to me. Luffy doesn't bow down to anybody, so when Luffy kind of gets in his face, he runs immediately to Nami's breast, and then actually I don't know if this was in the manga, but he also did run into Robin's breast, which I don't blame him for, but he's been a little perv. But that being said, yeah, like I said, this One Piece was a combination of the comedy and the setup. Now, the setup, obviously, we don't know the history and the animosity between Neko Omoshi and Inuyarashi, but that's what led Momonosuke to kind of spill the beans. Says, listen, you two need to stop fighting. You used to be good friends. Now you're fighting like cats and dogs, which is technically what they are. But we don't know the reason why. But because of Momonosuke, they kind of they pretty much get down on their hands and order on hands and knees, and then they bow their heads, and all the Minks are like kind of surprised. So Momonosuke is a big deal. And my question is, how important is Odin? And there's something that Neko Omoshi and Inuyarashi say on the way to the whale forest tree, and I'll get into that in a minute because that's kind of important too. But mainly because of Momonosuke kind of getting in between Neko Omoshi and Inuyarashi saying stop fighting. Kinemon had no choice but to reveal he was not the father of Momonosuke. But then obviously the Straw Hats were kind of surprised that, listen, Chopper, Usopp, Nami, and the rest, their reaction was freaking priceless, with the exception of Zoro, who didn't care less. The only thing on his mind is picking a fight with Kaido and Jack. He's scratching his ear. He's pulling a Luffy. Only Luffy picks his nose, but Zoro's picking his ears like he doesn't give a shit. And I didn't see Law at that time, but Law does make his way back into the episode on the way to the hideout where Raizou is. So, and plus this is going to be a pretty short arc because the conflict, at least in Zou, when it comes to the Minks, is pretty much is done because Momonosuke can't, because of that. They don't want to see Momonosuke cry out and get upset. Inuyarashi and Neko Omoshi decide to put their differences on hold and get onto friendly terms for Momonosuke's sake. So the truce is there. So the inner struggle of Zou is confronting it now. The only thing we're missing right now is to deal with the antagonist, and it looks like it's going to be Jack, judging the way this episode set that up. But that scene kind of did drag on a little bit. Arashi and Neko Omoshi take the rest of the Strats to the whale forest, up well, I looked to the middle of the Whale Forest tree where Raizou is, and um, and the funniest thing about all that is like Usopp, Chopper, and Luffy's the anticipation of meeting Raizou, the ninja from Wano, was priceless because they were going nin nin, and you have Usopp saying like water style jutsu on some Naruto shit. This is like they're pulling a complete reference from Naruto, um, all the way up on there. Robin's having a good time too, with the exception of Zoro and Law. They look like they don't want to be there at all. But when we get cliffhangers like this, and when you get previews like the one we've got, and something else was very important on the way there. Inuyasha just mentioned because of Momonosuke's hearing these voices, he does. Inuyasha says, "I do remember somebody who had the ability to do that once before." Now I know that I don't want to say it's obvious, but this kind of reference to Gold, in my opinion, to Gold Roger. Number one, he's in the opening, and two, um, yeah, Gold Roger has the ability to hear all things. Luffy definitely has it, so I'm wondering, will that play a factor as well? The moment Nekomashi says, Raizou's down here, Luffy, Usopp, and Chopper bolt down to the bottom. Then Frankie joins them because he's interested too. But the I gotta say the funniest moment of the entire episode was at the end when we get the introduction to Raizou. I'm sorry, Luffy, Chopper, Frankie, and Usopp's reaction was freaking priceless. So then they show the preview, and I gotta be honest, it's kind of disappointing because they kind of spoiled it. For those who, at least for those who are anime only, they kind of spoiled it. The narrator just mentions about Poneglyph. Honestly, whether you read the manga or not, it was kind of obvious there's going to be a Poneglyph introduced to Zou, because I don't know if anybody realizes or not. There was clues about the Void Century, because remember, Zunisha has been constantly on the move for 1,000 years, so that was a total reference to the Void Century. So you knew a Poneglyph was not far behind, but the fact we're getting introduced to a Poneglyph in the next episode, it goes to show you how short this arc is going to end up being. Like I said, it's a build up, and what's written on that Poneglyph more importantly, and Robin, the preview of the Poneglyph in Robin's eye, the gleam in Robin's eye was great. So that, I'm telling you, that's going to be major hype, and what's on that Poneglyph is going to change the course of One Piece, at least for those of you who haven't read the manga. Those of you we know how big that reveal really is, and how important it's going to be in the near future. Next up, after the introduction of Raizou, we have the Poneglyph to discover what's on there. At least that's going to be Nico Robin's job in the next episode, so I can't wait to see that. In terms of build up, yeah, this is a great episode, but it's also a comedic one. So let me know your thoughts down below. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. For more One Piece, comment, rate, subscribe. Catch you guys later. Bye.